The rain fell in thin silver lines, painting the night in a soft blur. Streetlights flickered against wet pavement, their glow stretching like broken halos across the empty streets of a small American town. Officer Daniel gripped the steering wheel of his patrol car, the hum of the engine the only sound to keep him company. Nights like this always carried a strange loneliness. The town slept, yet he remained awake. Carrying the quiet weight of duty as he drove past shuttered shops and quiet houses, his thoughts wandered. Behind every door, families were warm, safe, and together, or so he hoped. For him, there was no guarantee of peace, only the readiness to answer when the world called. And then, as if fate itself had been waiting for the right moment, his radio crackled. Unit 12. We've got a disturbance reported. Possible domestic child present. The words sliced through the silence. Daniel straightened in his seat, his senses sharpening. A child? He flicked on his lights, not with urgency but with steady resolve. The rain seemed to thicken as he turned down a narrow road. He didn't know yet, but his life and someone else's was about to change forever. The house appeared at the end of the lane, dimly lit, the porch light swaying slightly with the wind. And there she was. A little girl stood barefoot in the rain, her thin frame trembling against the cold. She clutched a stuffed bear so tightly its seams looked ready to split, the fur worn from years of seeking comfort. Her wide eyes glistened in the dim light, filled with fear too heavy for someone so small. Daniel stepped out of his car, the sound of gravel crunching under his boots. He moved slowly, lowering himself so he wouldn't tower over her. "Hey there," he said gently, his voice a soft contrast to the storm around them. The girl didn't answer at first. Behind her, muffled shouting spilled through the thin walls of the house, voices sharp, angry, filled with venom. She flinched at every crash, every word. Finally, her lips parted, and in a voice so faint it nearly disappeared into the rain, she whispered, "Please, don't leave." The words struck him harder than any blow could. They weren't just words of fear, they were a plea born from countless nights like this. He could see it in her eyes. This wasn't new. This was survival. Daniel asked. "Her name?" She whispered it, barely audible, before glancing back at the house. Her small hands trembled against the bear. "They fight all the time," she said softly. "But tonight, it's worse." Before he could ask more, the front door creaked open. A figure stumbled into the doorway, her father. His eyes were bloodshot, his movements unsteady, the stench of alcohol spilling out with him. Inside, Daniel caught a glimpse of a woman crying. Dishes shattered on the floor, the chaos of a broken home laid bare. Daniel straightened, his presence firm yet calm. His badge caught the light, a silent reminder of the authority he carried. But the father sneered, muttering curses under his breath. "We don't need you here," he slurred. "Get off my porch." Daniel didn't move. He stepped slightly forward, not toward the man, but between him and the little girl. The tension thickened like the air before a storm. The girl pressed closer to Daniel's leg, as if his very shadow could shield her. The shouting grew louder inside, the father's voice clashing with the mother's broken sobs. In the chaos, the girl tugged Daniel's sleeve. Her voice, barely audible over the storm, repeated the words that haunted him. "Please don't leave." Her eyes brimmed with tears this time, her face pale and fragile. She wasn't asking for a cop. She wasn't asking for justice. She was asking for safety, for someone to simply stay. Daniel crouched, his voice low but steady. "I'm not going anywhere," he promised. "You hear me? I'm right here." The girl blinked up at him, and for the first time, something shifted. The trembling eased, if only slightly. In that fragile moment, trust, thin, delicate, but real, was born. A fragile thread tied them together, one heartbeat to another. But the storm inside the house broke loose. The father shoved a chair, its legs scraping hard against the floor before toppling over. The crash jolted the girl, and she screamed, clutching her bear tighter. The mother begged him to stop, but her words were drowned in his fury. Daniel's hand moved to his radio, requesting backup. "Domestic disturbance, child present," he said quickly, his voice calm despite the chaos unraveling around him. But he knew help wouldn't arrive instantly. For now, it was just him. The father's eyes narrowed, rage twisting his face. "You think you can come into my home and tell me what to do?" He took a step forward, his body tensed like a spring ready to snap. Daniel raised a hand, not in threat, but in steady warning. "Listen," he said firmly, his tone cutting through the noise. "This isn't the way. You need to stop, right now." The words hung heavy in the air. For a moment, silence pressed down. The father froze, swaying slightly, torn between anger and fear of the consequences. The girl's grip on Daniel's sleeve tightened, her tiny fingers digging into the fabric. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. One wrong step away from disaster. And then just as the sound of approaching sirens began to echo faintly in the distance, the girl spoke again. Her voice trembled, fragile but clear enough to cut through the tension. "You won't leave me, right?" Daniel turned to her. Time seemed to slow, the shouting fading, the storm quieting. He saw not just a child, but every child who had ever been left to face the dark alone. And in that moment, the weight of his duty became something more. It became a promise. He knelt fully, his eyes level with hers. "I will never leave you alone in the dark," he said softly. Every word deliberate, steady. "Not tonight. Not ever." The father muttered something in the background, but Daniel didn't look away from her. He couldn't. This was her moment, her lifeline. Tears spilled down her cheeks, her small body shaking as she pressed into his chest. She cried, not the quiet sobs of fear, but the release of a child finally feeling safe. His uniform dampened with her tears, but he didn't move. He simply held her, letting her know he was there, and he wasn't leaving. Backup arrived. Officers guided the father outside, their calm efficiency replacing the storm with order. The mother sat at the kitchen table, her face buried in her hands, whispering apologies to no one in particular. Through it all, Daniel remained beside the girl. She refused to let go of his hand, her tiny fingers clinging as if letting go would undo everything. Only when her body grew heavy with exhaustion did she finally rest. Curled up on the couch with her bare pressed against her chest, her breathing slowed, the tension melting from her small frame. For the first time that night, the house was quiet. Quiet not from fear, but from peace. The mother lifted her eyes to Daniel, gratitude etched across her tired face. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. He gave a small nod. Sometimes words weren't needed. Hours later, the rain had stopped. Daniel sat in his patrol car, watching the horizon soften with the colors of dawn. The sky blushed pink and gold, as if the world itself wanted to wash away the darkness of the night before. He thought of the girl, of her trembling whisper, "Please don't leave." He knew he couldn't fix every broken home. He couldn't stop every argument, mend every wound, or erase every scar. But he could be present. He could be there in the moments that mattered most. And sometimes that was enough. His promise lingered in his heart, not just words spoken in the storm, but a vow etched into his soul. To never turn away, to never leave a child in the dark. And maybe that's what kindness really is, not grand gestures or perfect solutions, but presence, the willingness to stay when someone is begging not to be left alone. Because kindness, at its core, is showing up. It's answering a whisper with hope. It's saying, "You matter. I'm here." So tonight, as you hear this story, remember, you hold that same power to be someone's light in their darkest hour. To be the reason someone believes they are not alone. If this story touched your heart, share it. Let it ripple outward. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your reflections. And if you believe in spreading kindness, consider subscribing, so together we can remind the world of the simple, powerful truth. Sometimes the greatest act of love is simply to stay.